Welcome into another edition of our film room session here at Cover One. I'm your host, Eric Turner. Today, I'm joined by Nate Geary. Nate, how you doing today, bud?
Doing good, man. You know how it goes. Team No Sleep here for this podcast, but we don't sleep because instead of sleeping, we bring you great quality content, as is tradition. So we are skipping on the sleeping session. Skip and I got out of work a little early to make sure that we got this happening today.
Nice.
So, excited to get going because unlike the week before when we broke down the Bills and the Dolphins, not as pretty, but still a lot to take away from this film session. To just kind of continue your feeling good about this, right? Like continue your going home, nodding your head, thinking, all right, maybe we got something here. So we're gonna break down obviously last week's performance. We got a group of plays here against the Jets that we feel is something we need to get to the people.
Yeah, definitely. And, obviously at Cover One, we love our film. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to take a look at a few plays from Josh Allen. And the theme that kind of shaped in this game, and even the last few games, is that the offense is, taking on the identity of Josh Allen. And, that could be with his arm, that can be with his legs. And we're going to start off early in the game on their first drive. And it's just a simple spacing concept. Nate, tell me what you like about this empty set with Josh Allen solo back there by himself. Tell me what you like about the empty set for Josh Allen.
Well, first and foremost, thanks to your wonderful app here, you kind of get an idea of where everyone's routes are supposed to go. And more importantly, maybe what Brian Daboll's trying to do to the defense. And maybe even more important than that, what Josh Allen is seeing from his head right now, from his helmet. And obviously what I like is the empty set in itself. And I was talking to you about this before we got on. Is they've sort of taken the training wheels off since the injury, right? I remember me and you kind of going back and forth, and same with AQ, with Aaron Quinn, going back and forth about when are they going to open up this offense and let him throw the football. Well, that time has come. The training wheels are off, and I like to look back at a similar situation last season with Mitchell Trubisky, where they just kept the training wheels on all season long for Trubisky. He never really had a game like I thought Josh Allen has had passing the last 2 weeks, where he's thrown it basically 15 times a game. That was Trubisky's rookie season. Well, that's just not the case right now with Josh Allen. And I think you could say the same really even about like guys like Baker Mayfield. But I mean, this exact game, Sam Darnold threw 6 times in the first half. That just isn't the case with Josh Allen. That's what you really got to love. But what I love even more is his comfort level. That he wasn't doing these types of concepts. He wasn't doing this. I shouldn't say concepts, but he wasn't lining up in shotgun in a lot of empty sets in college, where I think a lot of people had the impression that Josh Allen was a half-field reader, and I think those are buzzwords that you hear a lot with rookie quarterbacks coming to the pro game, from spread option, from run and shoot type of schemes, where they really try to minimize what the quarterback has to process on the field. They want to make it as easy as possible, especially if you only got 3 years to really work with a quarterback at the college level. You want to cut the field off and make it as easy as possible. That's just not what's happening here. Brian Daboll's opening the entire field up of play. He's stretching the defense both vertically and horizontally. And it's basically asking Josh to read 1 through 5, but he doesn't need to in this instance because his cues tell him basically on his third step where the balls should be released to.
Yeah, and the defense, what they're trying to do here is to the top of the screen right here. You're going to see once the ball is snapped, they're going to roll into cover 2. So they're trying to confuse Josh Allen here from pre to post snap, rotating. Obviously a corner deep half there. So they're rotating the cover 2 look here, a Tampa 2 look. And why this spacing concept is so good is because it's stretching vertically, but it's also stretching horizontally. And you see what this middle hook does to these 2 inside defenders as that middle linebacker drops to the deep hole. It's constricting that lane there, and it's opening it up, that window for Josh Allen there to throw the strike to Robert Foster. So this is just a really good call, a really good concept from a compressed set, an empty compressed set, to spread the defense horizontally, but still push the ball downfield, because this is a long throw from right around the 10-yard line to just past the 30.
I wonder, Eric, and I know you brought this up earlier in the season, Kurt Warner, who is NFL, obviously everyone knows Kurt Warner, right? He's NFL Network.
Yeah.
One of the things he said earlier in the season, he was confused with the route concepts, right? Like saying didn't really understand the essence of them, why they were running certain concepts.
Sure.
I think in this instance, I think he would look at this and maybe want to take back what he said.
Right.
Because if you look at these types of route concepts, you're right. They tried to fool Josh Allen slightly. They did not on the play. But I think it's less about them not being able to fool Allen and more so about Brian Daboll's play call that actually allows him to basically say, we've got options for you against any coverage that the defense wants to run.
Definitely.
You can identify what zone that they're going to run, or if it's man, but what coverage they're running, and you're going to know basically off the snap of the ball, if they're running this, I'm going here. And I think he does a nice job of identifying the fact that box defender, I think it's Jamal Adams on the play, bails out very quickly, right? Or is it 54?
Which way, right here?
That bails out.
Yes, yeah, that's
so
54. Williamson gets to the deep hole. Adams is over here. He gets out to the flats there. He becomes that cloud corner into the boundary. So yes, I mean, it's a good job by Allen as he takes a snap. He's looking at the safety immediately. He sees that safety open his hips, and he's trying to get to that deep half of the field. So he knows immediately. So it's not like he stays on that safety too, and you see him the entire time, hits the top of his drop, boom, he gets on his target. He goes, well, if that safety's rolling, then someone else is rolling into the boundary there too. That corner's rolling to the deep half, and I have a strike to Robert Foster on the numbers. And it's all about landmarks here. This is not, a combination where the routes are, working off each other. They're getting the landmarks, and that helps a young quarterback. Okay, I need to throw it to this mark if this is a coverage.
What I like about Allen's decision-making on this play is I think you would have a tendency as a young quarterback is Charles Clay's open right off the bat here. And he's looking at Charles Clay. He's watching that middle linebacker bail, right? And he knows basically if the ball's released right now, it's probably a completion and he's tackled right away. But he understands what the defense is going to do now. And you can see number 46 squatting. So he understands that next window to the right, and it could be, I'm thinking it's probably potentially his number 2 option on this play, should be open. And he almost anticipates it to a certain extent because he has Charles Clay open to an extent. Like he can get Charles Clay here. He's probably tackled, and it's probably a 7, 8 yard, 10 yard gain.
Sure.
But instead he sort of waits it out and lets the play develop. And he throws a really, really accurate, nicely thrown ball. And this ends up being more of like a 16-yard pass play than just a 9-yard, and he's hit automatically, and you go to the next down.
Yes, it was definitely a good play on that first drive. And for our second play, we're going to move on. And again, empty set. And this is a play where he scrambles. And this is one thing with these empty sets. They're making the defense defend everything because obviously he has an arm that can make any throw on the field. So if they want to push it vertically, Allen has the arm to do so, and the defense has to respect that. Now, the other thing is by sending 5 guys into routes, and even though the offensive line is shaky, if any of those rushers do not maintain their rush lane integrity, guess what? Allen can beat them deep. So sending these 5 guys in the routes with a shaky offensive line is risky. But when he can identify the defensive, coverage, or even the front 7, he's able to sneak through that line of scrimmage, and that's where these explosive plays happen. 26 of his rushes this season, whether they're called or not, came on first down. 20 came on second down, and he's just been an explosive play monster with his legs, and it's because of empty formation.
Yeah, and it's really risky business to run a man blitz in that empty set against Josh Allen, knowing that he can escape so quickly. And you're talking about maintaining your pass rush lane integrity. Well, they don't do that. And look at the middle of the field right now. And if you're Josh Allen, sure, you probably could have stepped up a little bit and maybe maneuvered to the right and maintained your ability to pass the football. But knowing what we know about Josh Allen right now and his ability to break away from defenders with his pure athleticism and speed, it's a no-brainer decision for him. And obviously the smart one here, and he gets out of bounds. I still would like him maybe to get out of bounds 2 yards earlier and don't even take the hit and ended up walking out of bounds rather than, I know it's simple, right? Like he's not going to get injured on that play. He didn't take a huge hit, but I just, as much as you want to see Josh Allen get out of bounds or slide upright and just avoid any contact from the defender. You just don't want anything screwy happening here. But I just think it's a great play and good recognition on his part to see the blitzer to the outside and understand that, first of all, your right guard just got beat. Yeah. Plain and simple. Just absolutely, the defender just crossed his face and completely beat John Miller on this play. And obviously you want to pay attention to Leonard Williams there in the middle of the field. because he is an elite interior defensive player. But at the same time, I just love his overall recognition of what's happening and what the defense is trying to do to him. And he does a great job of getting off this tackler, which he just has a tendency. From what we've seen from Josh Allen, it seems like the first defender has zero chance of bringing Josh Allen down.
Seriously, with how big he is, how strong he is, he's you know, he can use a stiff arm with, you know, both arms basically. And you know, I like this play because again, they're spreading it out. They're trying to make it easy for him as far as his reads. They're making the defense to clear the coverages. Obviously, he sees the blitz coming here. He sees a big gap right up the middle, so he takes it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he breaks that tackle of Leonard Williams, who's one of the better interior defensive players in the league. And then he just sprints off, you know, to a really nice gain here. And I mean, he did this twice out of the empty formation this game, 52 yards. He's averaging 20 yards a rush out of empty formation runs this year on scrambles. So, I mean, this is part of the offense, you know, whether they want to admit it or not. McDermott came out today and said he understands how defenses are trying to defend Josh Allen in the offense. So that understanding helps you game plan better. And obviously this was one of those plays where, okay, if my tight end's not open there, if there's a blitz coming, it's man coverage, I'm obviously going to take off. So we're going to move on to the third play here, Nate. 3rd and 13. And this is probably Allen's best throw of the day. I'm sure you'll agree with me here. And it's obviously on a money down with his back to the goal line here. So I want you to talk about not just the empty set, but who he's targeting here and how much the Robert Fosters and the Isaiah McKenzie's have helped Allen this so far in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, just based on, you know, what you're going to see, listen, DBs have to bail now. They just understand to a certain extent of what this offense could not do within the first 6 weeks of the year. They couldn't require the deep threat respect that they do right now. And listen, Robert Foster isn't, you know, Antonio Brown. Isaiah McKenzie isn't Tyreek Hill. But they're defended in a similar type way, right? Like the defenses are similarly scared about what they can do to take the top off of defense. And on this play, what I really like about Allen is his ability to process the defense, find the proper window, find the proper hole. But obviously, I think we've talked about this in our last film session. I just love how comfortable he is sitting in his own end zone in the shadow of his own goalposts.
It's crazy.
To me, has got to be the most impressive thing you could see from a rookie. I mean, just ask Dan Orlovsky how you know, intimidating it is to be taking snaps, especially fresh in your first, you know, handful of games, taking snaps in your own end zone, knowing that, you know, you're a few steps from walking out of the back of the end zone. And that's truly the situation here. And he's got a pass rusher immediately in his face. Doesn't phase him whatsoever. He remains a passer, which I love, because I think seeing the pressure here from 50, that he could have felt the necessity to become a runner and not
could have
remain
gotten
a passer.
ugly. Yeah, it could have gotten ugly.
Easily, right? Like he could have put himself back into harm's way where there's 3 defenders on the other side. They're obviously spying him with their defensive tackle. But still, it's like good luck. Even if you're gonna try to spy him with the defensive tackle, I just think I'm not sure that the idea of rushing 3 in this situation. But he does a good job of identifying that they rushed 3. They've got a spy on him. That means there's going to be a hole in the zone somewhere. He finds it right over the middle of the field, basically. And again, delivers a really accurate strike in between 3 defenders. And, you know, one of the things that Brady Quinn talked about and what he liked so much about Josh Allen is the ball placement in this game. It's something he went back and watched. And you go back to the first play we broke down, the Zay Jones play. You know, he is locating the ball on hitch plays better than I really can recall watching a lot on film of him at Wyoming. You just didn't see a big enough sample size of him planting and throwing the football with the velocity that he normally can throw it with, but throwing it accurately and not having his receiver have to jump for it or dive forward for it. Like, that is a perfectly thrown football in coverage, right where you want it to be in the middle of that defense in the hole. And he just does a great job diagnosing it, standing tall and delivering a really good, accurate ball. And just something that I didn't think we'd be talking a whole lot about, you know, this early anyways.
I want to go back to the beginning real quick because I want to give him some props as far as diagnosing this coverage from this empty set, because they, again, try to confuse him on third.
It's not easy. It's not easy for you.
You see, I mean, they're really muddying up these looks right here. You know, you got both safeties, then you got Tremaine Johnson in the corner in you know, far off coverage here. And when the ball snapped, they change it's a cover 2 look. So again, the empty set, they're trying to stretch them vertically. You're going to have 2 high sets a lot, and you're going to have Adams drop down here into the hole. And this is Tampa 2. So they're going to have the deep hole player right here as a linebacker, and you'll see nice little triangle right here with that defensive tackle jumping into the short hole. This is, pretty good coverage versus what the Bills are trying to do. But what Allen does is diagnose that they are, first of all, in this Tampa 2 look. And with this little flare control by Murphy going out to the flats, he knows if he gives a little pump fake, he can move this linebacker right here. And that's exactly what he does. A little pump fake moves him a little bit. McKenzie does a really good job of sitting in that hole right there in that window. And then, of course, the strike. The back shoulder strike, right where the ball needed to be. Just a good play all around. Not just the composure in the pocket with his back to the goal line. You got to add in the processing of the play, the process and the coverage. And if you even see here, you see him, he motions to his offensive line. He slides that protection. You see him right here. He'll slide that protection right there. He slides the protection to the right. So you're going to see Groy slide to his right to Leonard Williams' side, which is not a big deal, but they are running a little twist here, and Groy's there to help out, because the chip from Logan Thomas is not effective with that looper. So
Roy and Teller.
Yeah, so they do a good job of securing that. And then, Allen's eyes are downfield. He has pressure in his face. Could have gotten ugly really quickly. He has a tendency to want to bail out of the pocket. And if he bails out of the pocket right here, he's going to take, it's going to be a safety. So good play all around for Josh Allen. And by far, for me, his best throw of the day.
The last thing I want to add to that play is I think it's a really good sign that a player that has just come onto the team, basically a month or so ago, and Isaiah McKenzie and Josh Allen is already able to be on this sort of same page with McKenzie and understanding. And listen, you saw the miscommunication between him and Zay Jones last week on a potential touchdown. And now this week on not the same play, but a similar type situation where you could easily think that your wide receiver is going to continue along and stemming this out and continue along the path. But instead, he settles into that zone. And obviously, it's props to Isaiah McKenzie for understanding what the defense is doing. But it's a props to Josh Allen for being on time and on target with this, but understanding that his receiver knows that he's supposed to stop up there. And it's having this chemistry with guys that he just hasn't had a lot of playing experience with. That really bodes well for the guys that are coming in the offseason. And listen, when other players and when other teams are watching this, they're going to recognize the fact that Josh Allen is on the same page with his receivers, even if they haven't been there a long time. And that's really hard to do at any level. Like if you've never played with a guy before in Little League, it can be hard to know and understand what he's doing, how quick he gets out of breaks and if he understands where he's supposed to stop on a certain coverage. So, it's obviously a props to both players, but I'm impressed that he's been able to gain such a great chemistry with Isaiah McKenzie in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, definitely good play all around. And like you said, that rapport is starting to show between McKenzie and Robert Foster and Josh Allen. All right, on to the next play. The Bills are up 17-13. They're in the 2-minute drill. It's 3rd and 10, Nate. And it's a 3-by-1 set. And Allen he does a great job here of identifying the blitz off the edge there from Buster's screen. And with the 3-by-1 set, they have Robert Foster isolated to the top of the screen. So talk about, obviously, again, Foster's speed has to be respected, but he's really a true ISO receiver. So when they want to go to these 3-by-1 sets, they put him as a solo receiver out wide. He's an actual threat deep. So you're going to see a lot of off coverages, right, Nate, as opposed to having Kelvin Benjamin up there. Yeah,
no, there's a lot of respect, right, on this play, where you just have basically the deep comeback on the backside. What I love is he delivers this ball. He stands tall. He takes a shot.
Yep.
And that's something that I think we're probably pretty familiar with at this point, is him taking a shot. Honestly, my original thought on this play is identify where the blitz is coming a little bit quicker, because honestly, you had a little bit of an easier throw, but obviously you're throwing into the blitz, so it can be difficult if you have a free rusher, which he does in this situation, to try to replace or throw where he's coming from, because he does have an open guy at the 30-yard line doing those 2 outs.
Sure.
But I think he understands that the respect that backside corner is giving Robert Foster really leads to an easier throw probably in his mind, because he's not going to have to worry about that free defender potentially jumping up and batting down a football, or just taking an unnecessary shot straight on when he throws this backside, he can sort of shield himself after throwing the football instead of giving up his chest to that free blitzer. So it's good awareness of where the blitz is coming from, but feeling it in time to be able to throw a quick, accurate throw on that comeback. Another, to be honest with you, a good anticipatory throw here too.
Yeah, and the thing I do like, and you're right, I mean, he could have thrown it to the field here, but first of all, I mean, we haven't seen many hot routes or sight adjustments by these receivers.
Agreed.
I'll give Logan Thomas a little credit here because he sees the blitz come in, and of course, Alan pointed out, and he did turn and he became the hot, but he was not open. So my other thought is that with the ball in the left hash, and he knows he has that off coverage, and yes, that easier throw and good chunk yardage on third down. That guy's past the sticks. It's a safer throw. It's near the boundary where that guy can get out of bounds while catching the ball. I don't have a problem with him throwing it into the boundary, but again, standing in there, recognizing the pressure coming from the field on that blitz from the edge rusher there, something that he has struggled with this year. He has struggled with delayed blitzes and slot corner blitzes from the field, and so knowing that he has an easy throw here to Robert Foster, a guy he trusts, and you see he didn't even look at him. He's eyeing deep. He's eyeing the deep safety rotation there, and then he's trusting that Foster's going to be where he is as he takes that big hit. And it's just a good throw. It's a good throw where Foster can catch it and attempt to get out of bounds there.
Yeah, and that's the anticipation I was talking about. Like he does a great job of, and listen, if that's Kelvin Benjamin, does he have that trust to throw that football without ever actually looking at him? He does a great job of staring down the safety and staring down that middle line. I mean, if you're following his eyes, you have zero chance of defending this ball if you're a field defender and not that cornerback. Just because, first of all, that's a 15-yard, should have been anyways. Hit to the head.
It was.
Anyways. It was, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And just on this play, I guess for me, what's most impressive, you're right, is staying in the pocket. And not on this play, I think maybe earlier in the season, before this, this free defender gets to him, for whatever reason, I just have the feeling he bails out of this, right? But instead, he trusts the guy to the outside, which I think is a big part of his development moving forward, is how often he can trust his receivers and how much they can bail him out. He didn't have to bail him out here because it was an accurate throw.
Yeah, and you're right, because one play that stands out to me is Derwin James in that Week 2 matchup with the Chargers. Is James came free off the edge, and of course James is a heck of an athlete, but Allen just kind of pulled the ball down and took the sack there. Versus this play where he gives his receiver a chance. So we're gonna move on to the next play. It's 20-13. Bills are still up. It's a 3rd and 9 situation here in the third quarter. Another 3-by-1 set for Josh Allen, and it's one of those times, again, Nate, where they're just using these deep comeback routes. And again, landmarks, right? It's something that it's easier for a quarterback. Hey, I know if I get this coverage, I know what guy is going to be open, and I can throw it to a spot. It's kind of like how he and Robert Foster connected on that deep ball against the Jaguars. Throw it to the top of the 40. That's where the ball needs to be, and he did it. So it's another one of these plays, though, kind of like the last one. It's a spacing concept. It's a landmark throw, but it's an isolation throw for the receiver at the bottom of the screen. And again, another route where that defensive back has to respect the speed of that receiver down there.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at what, about a 25-yard throw? And what I like about it is this is actually a much more difficult throw than people might anticipate it is, right? Because of how good the coverage is on this play by Morris Claiborne. The ball is thrown as he's making his break, and you can see that here with it being paused. If this throw is made a half a second late, if this throw is made, a full second late, it's picked in probably 6, right?
Sure.
So to be honest with you, the timing to me is spot on. But what I love about it is, again, recognizing the coverage, right? He knows he's getting 2 bail techniques on the outside routes, and he's got that deep high safety. So the deep high safety has just no chance. This is 11 on 10 in this specific play call, right? Because that deep safety is really taking himself out of the play that's being called here. But what I love about it is just the ball location again. I talked about how this is a little bit more of a difficult throw than people might realize it is. But throwing that ball accurately at the sticks on 3rd down. I talked about this after the game on my postgame show. I think he ended up 6 of 9 for 70-something yards on 3rd down, 5 third down conversions just with his arm. That's not counting That's not counting his first downs that he got with his feet.
With his feet, yeah.
He was a monster. He was the team's best weapon on third down on Sunday. And again, I just kind of go back to him being a rookie quarterback and you being that efficient as a passer on third down. That speaks really well to the preparation that you're getting from your coach, but his understanding of what the defense is throwing at him, and he knows it right away. And again, he's able to look off for at least the beginning of this throw, but he knows right where he's going, really after his second or third step.
And that's what's great about these 3x1 sets. You're going to have zone beater concepts to the trip side, and you're going to have that isolated receiver running some kind of sight adjustment. Sometimes if it's off coverage, it's going to be a deep hitch or deep comeback. If they're in tight coverage, you'll run a slant, or you could do any number of things from that isolated receiver. But you got to have a receiver that is a threat. And Foster, the undrafted free agent, somehow has produced since coming back, and he's become Josh Allen's favorite target. And it's just, again, one of those plays where he's hitting the top of the drop and he's just firing it out to the guy, trusting that he's going to be where he's supposed to be. And he's done a good job of that so far this season. Of course, he had a few hiccups so far, Robert Foster being that. But for the most part, he's done a really good job of bailing out his quarterback and getting open and separating for Josh Allen.
Yeah, again, this kind of goes to Robert Foster's credit, though. Is his ability to trust Foster. And I can tell you, it's difficult to throw a football before a guy fully makes his break if you don't trust him. And on this play, and I think there's a lot of examples from this game of him really trusting Robert Foster, getting the ball out before he makes his break. And that makes a world of difference. And those just simply weren't throws at this type of timing that you saw from Tyrod Taylor, really at all on a regular basis. You could probably count on one or two hands the amount of times he did this in a full course of a season. And I don't even know if you can count on one or two hands this game that, that Josh Allen proved and made throws like this. So again, I think it's the common denominator, the difference between those two players obviously is there's a significant difference as a passer. But I think to me, the biggest difference is the offensive coordinator, and he's putting Josh Allen in good positions. Something that I thought Rick Dennison did a really poor job of as a pass coordinator last year for this Bills offense.
And to kind of wrap this play up, and that's why they brought him here, right? Mm-hmm. His game planning. Game planning makes such a difference. And McDermott, again, I mentioned at the top of the show, is McDermott and that staff is understanding how defenses are trying to stop Josh Allen in the offense and what they're presenting them with. And that makes game planning a lot easier. And you see it on so many different plays from this game and from the last few games since Allen has been back. So we're going to move on later into the third quarter. Bill's still up a touchdown. It's a trips bunch set to the field here, to the bottom of the screen. And it's a play. It happens a lot quicker. It's one of the few throws he threw underneath here. And it's just a snag or spot concept out of this 3x1 set. But it's a play that is bang, bang, right, Nate? Mm-hmm. He has to know where his eyes need to be based on that coverage, because it's a timing play. As soon as he hits the top of the drop, as soon as that receiver hits that spot or that little curl route right there, McKenzie, he's got to get to him because it's second and long. They need to get positive plays here to put them in a productive third and short situation.
Yeah, and I want you to watch the corner on this play, the post corner. I think, to be honest with you, I'm very happy that he took the conservative approach on this play. He sits in there, he delivers the accurate throw that's a 10-yard ball from his hand to the receiver, and just gets positive yards. And this is a second and long situation. I feel like, as a rookie, you're thinking, I've got to get this back. And you see this post corner route as an opportunity to get that first down back. And listen, I think he does a good job, or at least he has an understanding of what that bailing corner, that I think that's Mo Claiborne on the play, is doing on here. I think if he tries to make this throw just because he's Josh Allen and he does really have elite arm strength, it's a very good possibility he could have thrown that ball open. I think that's Robert Foster on the play. And listen, it's a positive play. I think he does a nice job of identifying it quickly and taking the underneath here. But there definitely were options for him on this play. I think I'm happy with the awareness of knowing that we need to get ourselves into a third and manageable situation. And an incomplete pass on this play is really, you can't have it. You can't put yourself in a third and 20, a third and 18 situation. You need to get yourself into third and manageable, and he does a great job of understanding that and getting it done here.
Yeah, it's tough to decipher what coverage they're playing. Obviously, too high set, but with the trips bunch set, typically defense will just check to box coverage, which just means they're going to match the routes, because it looks like screen, he takes the first out route, You're going to see the inside linebacker take the first in route, which would be McKenzie there. So I think he realizes that, and it's something he executed really well last week versus the Dolphins. Not forcing it deep here, not forcing it to a receiver on a low percentage throw, taking the matchup of McKenzie of throwing it on time, on schedule, and giving him a shot to beat that linebacker. And he does exactly that and puts them in a good third down situation here. So I like the thinking behind it. He actually had to read the coverage there. He had his eyes in the right spot, and he had to throw it on schedule. It's one of the few plays that he actually threw underneath, because this game they tried, stretching the ball vertically a little more, but it's a bang play and a good play of getting the ball in the hands of a playmaker. Now we're in the fourth quarter. The game's tied up here. We have about 9 minutes, 10 seconds on the clock here. 1st and 20 situation, another 3-by-1 set, Nate. And this is a play where, I was not happy with his pocket presence. All right, I'm gonna let it roll here, and he's gonna do something that he did a lot of in college. And when he saw the blitz, he kind of bails out of the pocket there and throws a fadeaway pass when really he had the slot receiver McKenzie open. And I understand why he did this, because he has Jamal Adams coming off here and he's relying on Marcus Murphy to pick up that blitz. But it's a play where you'd like to see him stand in there and throw this play open, maybe throw with a little more anticipation, float it out there, because he's got a lot of green for that guy to work that sideline outside the numbers here. So I just didn't like his pocket presence on this play.
Yeah, and this goes into something he talked about earlier in the season, right? It's understanding understanding your clubs in your bag, per se, right? And on this play, what you want to see him do here is understand that he's likely going to take a hit in this situation, to step into a ball. And even if you leave it short, even if your mark here is in between the sidelines and the numbers at the 40-yard line, give your receiver, take a little off it, float it up a little bit, give your receiver an opportunity to catch it, reestablish himself, because that player behind him, the defender, is chasing. So if he has to stop, there's a good opportunity that he might overrun the play, and then you're looking at a lot of green in front of him for potential yards after catch. You're right, and this goes into him fading away, and I think what it goes down to is a greater issue of confidence that he can really make any throw off any platform. And this is the type of throw that you just don't want to see. You don't want to see him give an opportunity to make this catch. And he just really didn't give his receiver an opportunity to make this catch inbounds with an opportunity to turn it back upfield with the chasing defender. But I think this is something too that can be coached to an extent out of Allen, right? It's the ability of understanding a blitz and not letting it phase you to the point where, as long as you can get rid of the football, do it. Don't wait and don't fade away, because I think fading away in this situation really killed his ability to make an accurate throw. Yeah,
and I'm kind of baffled with his eyes here and his eye discipline, because he's looking deep. He sees a single high safety. It looked, for us, obviously, with the eye in the sky now, in hindsight, it looked like it was man coverage. I mean, it doesn't look like it was disguised at all. It looks like man coverage. So he's got an idea where that guy's going to be. I don't know why he's, scanning the field right here. He should have an idea that, that flood route, that deep out route by McKenzie is open, and, throw it. Like you said, if you have to take a little off it, take a little off it. Have that guy, come back for the ball, and he's going to make a guy miss. And you know what? If he makes Buster Screen miss there, that's a really big play, possibly even a touchdown.
Right. No, my thought exactly is, if you get that over, it's very difficult to stop as a defender when you're chasing a guy 20 plus yards, and then for you to stop and make a tackle is a very difficult thing to do, especially with the elusiveness of Isaiah McKenzie. Just give your guy a shot, at the end of the day. And you're right. It is sort of puzzling why he decides to hold on to the football here, where I think right here, the ball should really be out right here. And if not right here, 1/2 second longer. Yeah. And really, that blitz shouldn't have any impact. And to be honest with you, the offensive line did a nice job picking this up. And as we know, Marcus Murphy is a bit of a liability as a pass blocker. He does a good enough job to get his body in front of Jamal Adams.
He absorbed it, yeah.
It's not great by any means.
But the ball should be out by the time
it shouldn't even be a factor. Yeah, it shouldn't be.
No, totally. And the thing is, he's looking front side here, but then he peeks at the deep safety. I don't know why he's peeking at the deep safety. And, he hits the top of that drop, and, his weight distribution's off, and his hips should be already pointing to that sideline and making that throw. That's where the, the inconsistency in this play is, in his drop and where his eyes should be, because his body should be in position to already make that throw. All of his targets are going to his right. There's no need for him to shift his weight when he hits the top of the drop and have his his hips pointing right down the center line at the safety when the ball and all the receivers are going to his right.
Yeah, and again, it just kind of comes down to understanding why, right? Like, what is the why? Why is the defense doing what they're doing on this play? And I think once he starts to understand that more, especially in zone and man blitzes, where to throw the football is going to come naturally to him, because he's going to understand why and where defenders are coming from and where the open opportunities are. And on this case, again, I mean, we're still talking about a guy that's still in his single digit in terms of starts in this league. So, yeah, I think, again, this kind of stuff comes with experience. And I think McDermott really says that every week with Josh, right? Like, these are the things that he's learning. He needed to do by experience. And I think, obviously the 4-week vacation that he got to stay to get away from the field to play and really watch from the sidelines. Plays like this, I just think that it's something that will come with time. The more that you get yelled at in film room, because I'm sure that you and I aren't the only ones that notice this on this play, right? Like Brian Dable is probably telling him on this play, look at that as a clean pocket. Even if you had to step up, which you didn't even have to, the ball just has to come out on time, like it did on the previous play that we broke down to Isaiah McKenzie. It has to come out on time. And if it does, then this is a non-issue.
All right, Nate, we're going to move on to the fourth quarter here. 8:45 on the clock. Game is tied at 20. Second and 20 situation, and another empty set from Josh Allen in the offense. And it's a similar play to what we saw on the very first play of this breakdown. Get to your landmarks, another spacing concept. They're stretching them deep. They're stretching them horizontally. Got a little bit of everything. And another strike from Josh Allen to Zay Jones to the bottom of the screen. But, of course, it's dropped by Zay Jones. Of course, not his best day against the Jets. And the receivers all together, there was, I think, 5 official drops for Josh Allen, so they didn't really help him too much. And this was just a strike from the far hash, from the left hash, right around the 44-yard line to right around the 35-yard line, just dropped by Zay Jones.
Yeah, and I think, too, you're seeing, too, the addition of Isaiah McKenzie and Robert Foster, their speed in this offense. It is manipulating the way that defensive coordinators are calling pass coverages towards Josh Allen. And we talked about this early in the season, is if Josh Allen, the one area that he could really concern defensive coordinators is by, do you feel comfortable enough running a one high safety, knowing that Josh Allen can find the quarters of the field, those small corners, those small holes in the defense that you can find in a cover 3 at the sidelines. He has the ability from the opposite hash to the other sidelines to make accurate and honestly undefendable throws. And in this case, you could see Tremaine Johnson on this play understand probably what's coming to him a quarter of a second too late. And it really just that right there, the distance between him and Zay Jones on this play is roughly 3.5, 4 yards, right? And I think you could see a lot of quarterbacks, and namely, for whatever reason, Ryan Fitzpatrick comes to mind. Guys that have to really put everything into that throw right there. 3 or 4 yards is not that far for NFL defenders to close the gap in.
Not with that throw for how far it is, and especially width-wise from that left hash. I mean, it's pretty much, it's one of those plays. If this isn't Josh Allen or say like a Patrick Mahomes, guys with cannons for arms, this is probably going to be broken up. But and honestly, Allen's anticipation is not the best here. It's actually kind of late. He's already breaking and turn, has his head snapped around Zay Jones. So most of the quarterbacks in the league probably don't even make this throw. Most don't even get it there in time to beat the corner here, right?
Yeah, and quite honestly, to be honest, the fact that Zay Jones is able to finish the game with 6 broken ribs and a broken sternum is pretty remarkable, because that ball had that thing was heat-seeking. And the fact, listen, Zay Jones didn't have a great game, but this is a play that you really want your receiver to come up with, because, again, to me, it's just been incredible to see the types of throws, because how many national guys are going to tweet out that I'm sure that first play of training camp, the one that was to Marcus Murphy that he overthrew by a mile, is still probably being circulated around the internet.
Oh, yeah, it's probably a million hits right
Reddit.
now.
Right, yeah, exactly. And how little, again, and this is what I was talking about, in this game alone, these types of throws, these comeback routes, the hook routes, where he's throwing the ball on the numbers, giving his wide receivers the opportunity to turn and run after catching the football. He obviously didn't have an opportunity here because he dropped it, but again, you just didn't see this type of accuracy really at all. Like, and when you did, it was when you're thinking, okay, Josh Allen's on fire. The bowl game against Central Michigan pops into my head as a game where you at least saw 1 or 2 throws like this. But really, over the course of the rest of his career at Wyoming, he just wasn't put in situations where he was asked to run empty sets and out of shotgun and be able to see the whole field. I mean, this is a guy that's 6'5", 240, and he's going to get to watch the whole field and see the whole field break down. And I think this sort of play right here is proof to me that at least a little, and it's starting, the game is starting to slow down a little bit for Josh Allen.
Yeah, and you mentioned it at the top of this play, how teams are defending the McKenzies and the Fosters. Okay, what's happening on these type of plays is we saw in this game, Zay Jones did most of his work from the outside. They used Foster and McKenzie in the slot a lot because, Allen throws that deep over out so good, and now teams are recognizing, and that speed by Robert Foster to the top of the screen has to be respected. So what they're doing is they're using this deep over route to pull safeties. You see these guys in a Robert coverage, and they're working a combination on McKenzie to defend that deep over route and that deep hook. And so that's occupying 2 defenders there. They're taking the best player, Jamal Adams, put him in the middle of the field, and it's going to open those routes on the outside. And honestly, if Allen wanted to, that deep comeback to Foster at the top was open too. So that's what the speed is doing. And the game planning, Dable, we have to give kudos to him again because he understands what the defense is trying to do here. Both these safeties are robbing over the top, and Foster's not going to go deep here. Why? Because he's being robbed by 2 defenders, but so they both hook it up. So we're going to see a lot more of these deep comebacks become part of the offense. We saw it a bunch in this game, but we're going to see it even more going forward in Josh Allen's career because once they add some more speed into the slot, when they start to add more speed at the tight end position, you're going to see a lot of these different coverages to stop the middle of the field, to stop that deep over that Allen loves to throw.
It's funny too because I don't know, somebody on Twitter after the game was just yelling about how the Bills never throw over the middle of the field, and I was like, I don't know what you're watching, dude. Yeah. I don't know what you're watching.
No, definitely, and it's one of those things. Like I'd say he hasn't thrown as far as like volume. Yes, he's not throwing a lot over the middle, but he's actually up over 60% when he's throwing over the middle, especially in that short area. So it's not that they know his strengths and weaknesses, and that's the most important thing. He's not a guy that's gonna excel in that short area, whether it be outside or underneath. But getting him in those high efficiency throws and plays where he can complete it. And that's what they've done with him. It's not a high volume, a high quantity number of throws over the middle, but it's because of plays like this. You start putting that speed in the slot, they're going to respect it. They're going to start robbing guys, and you're going to get those deep comebacks, as we saw several times in this breakdown already. All right, so we got 2 more plays here. The final plays here are out of the empty set again, and a play where Josh Allen misses Robert Foster here, but I want to start from the top because you're going to see Marcus Murphy motion out of the backfield, and of course that's a linebacker right there, Avery Williamson.
You know what it is.
Nice and easy, man coverage, right?
Yep.
So they're going to find their matchup, and this is more of a predetermined throw. It's a slot fade to the top of the screen, and again, I think it's just a smart play. It makes it easy on the quarterback here, but there was some kind of miscommunication here, as you'll see Robert Foster on the snap. He does a little skip release, and I think he widens his stem a little too early here. He allows that cornerback to play that leverage and use that boundary as another defender here. So Allen hits the top of his drop, and he throws a back shoulder pass that's a little inaccurate and falls out of bounds. But talk about what you like on this play, Nate.
So, well, I mean, first of all, I think you really keyed in on the issue with the route too, because I mean, even after he takes his jump here, you're going to see that he sort of tumbles over himself again, like right here. And I think that right there maybe throws off the timing just a tad on this play. He's definitely looking back shoulder 100%, right? On this play, it's interesting too, because you could have easily looked play side at the dig coming across the field with Zay Jones on this play. But I like where his head's at here. I think this is an area of weakness for this particular coverage, meaning I think if they do, I think he made the right throw. I think his read,
no doubt about it,
that it has to be a back shoulder throw on this play, he's spot on. It doesn't matter who you have there at the wide receiver position. He's not going to outrun the coverage based on where his alignment are. The defender does a nice job of not becoming flat-footed like he could have off the break of there. I just think, again, this kind of goes into that you're a rookie throwing to an undrafted rookie. You do kind of have, at some point, the miscommunication. I don't know if it's even really a miscommunication. I don't think that Robert Foster's wrong in this instance. I just think that, the timing and the communication wasn't there for this throw. And you're right. I think maybe that it was a little inaccurately thrown. If he throws it, if he's replacing the defender's helmet, maybe he has an opportunity to come back and get this. But at the end of the day, I think you chalk this one up to not being on the same page as your wide receiver, because I do think that he did make the right read in this instance in trying to go for the back shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, single high set, it's showing his man coverage, obviously. And that's why I said, it's predetermined. Yes, those backside routes are open, but this is one of those plays with a single high set. Whether it was zone or man, your single high set, you're going slot fade all day versus this. And so I also think that maybe, we're going to put this on Foster and how he releases this route and sets it up, or doesn't set it up properly for that matter, because it's something that McDermott talked about. I believe it was with McDermott or Dable, talked about the intricacies of the receiver position. How Foster, although he's made a difference, he's still learning some of those intricacies. I think this is one of those plays where, he didn't set up the leverage properly. He didn't really help his quarterback properly. And the timing, like you said, was kind of off here. The throw, it has to be back shoulder, because there's no way that Foster's blown by this guy. There's good leverage by this corner. He's got good leverage on the ball. And, it's a good play by the corner there, using that boundary as another defender. I think it just wasn't set up well. All right, Nate, and one final note, I don't want to just glance over this. The other good part of the recognition on this play was, Josh Allen finding Jamal Adams, because on this play late in the game from this, empty set, Jamal Adams inserts as a fifth rusher, but really he's a spy. In the first half, it was Neville Hewitt, number 46, the linebacker. In the second half, on these money downs, on these empty formation plays where they're obviously passing and trying to spread the field for Josh Allen to open up those running lanes if he needed them, they used Jamal Adams here, and it's something Allen did recognize. And of course, that's another reason why he, hit the top of the drop and just got rid of the ball. He's not risking that. He knows he's not going to be able to run. There's really, no passing lane here, because you see Adams, he's not really rushing, and he's disengaging from Mills. And if Allen were to take the bait here, he's going to walk right into Jamal Adams, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So at least, like you said, it's recognizing where the blitz is coming to you pre-snap, which he does right here, because it's play side for him. He's looking at it. He understands where I don't know that he knows that he ultimately becomes a spy, but again, I think he does a nice job of getting away from the blitz and throwing away from the blitz. The only other thing that I thought maybe on this play too was Isaiah McKenzie on a short route. He is looking that way. But once he creates that leverage against Buster Screen, he's already looking the other way. And I think he already identified at that point, I'm going back shoulder. And it just didn't work out.
The last play of this breakdown is the 38-yarder to Robert Foster. And it's 4 plays later, Nate. So you saw Allen miss that throw there. But guess what? They come right back to it. This time, they have McKenzie in the backfield. They motion him to the top of the screen. And it really confuses the defense, because, okay, am I having a corner go with him? I have Marcus Murphy to the bottom of the screen. Where's my linebacker on him? This is man coverage. They were totally out of order here on this play. And the play setup here, it's a Patriots staple. It's known as Haas wide juke. And all that means is you're going to have mirrored Haas concepts on the outside, which is just a hitch and a seam route, which the slot fade to Robert Foster at the top of the screen is actually the primary route concept. And you're going to have that juke route by Charles Clay over the middle, looking for him to uncover versus that defender. But it really confused the defense here. So again, Dable put his quarterback,
schemed him up, right?
Yeah, he schemed it up perfectly. And again, the defense isn't even set. They're obviously in man coverage, though. You have the linebackers, the linebacker to the bottom of the screens match up with the running back. You have the other linebacker match up with the tight end. You got man coverage. But the other thing is the slot corner that's on Robert Foster here, after McKenzie motions out wide, is Rashard Robinson. He's had 13 plays for the Jets coming into this game. So you now have your most dangerous deep threat and guy that your quarterback trusts the most against a reserve corner who hasn't played much in the scheme. And, it's a dime. It's really a dime. And Josh Allen connects with Foster on this play, unlike the last play, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful throw. And what I love about this is just every route that's being run against this man. It conflicts the defender. And for me, it conflicts the safety. It conflicts that deep high safety of where the hell am I going in this play? He has to cover a ton of ground to be the primary defender over the top for this play. He does a nice job of getting there. But to be honest with you, he almost misses out on this play. This is almost a touchdown if he doesn't get over there. But what I'll say about the throw is, I mean, this is obviously something I've been pounding on the table for years, because it's such an important throw in today's NFL. It turns good man coverage into something where you're like, that they just took advantage of a dime corner, when in all reality, he does a damn nice job of coverage on
same position,
in position to make a play on any throw other than a perfect throw. And unfortunately for the defender, and fortunately for the Bills, it's a perfectly thrown ball. He understands the leverage on this play. He gives his wide receiver the opportunity in the field of play to not only catch the ball, but continue moving upfield. This wasn't at the sideline where Robert Foster's supposed to catch the ball and then land out of bounds or fall out of bounds. He left this within the field of play. I think that also a little bit of credit needs to go to Foster on this play, that he gave Josh Allen a little bit of field to work with on this play. And I just think in terms of, look when the ball is thrown. The ball is thrown 3 yards before Robert Foster even turns around for it. It's other than the other throw out of the end zone earlier, this is, if it's not the first, if it's not the most impressive, it's the second most impressive throw of the day. And right up there with the handful of plays where you go back at the end of this 2018-2019 season and you say, man, these are throws that we can build around. Because this is the type of thing, this is what you see Aaron Rodgers do on a week-to-week basis against teams who, listen, I mean, for a long time, Aaron Rodgers had wide receivers that couldn't break man coverage. He was doing this 5, 6, 7, 10 times a game because he had guys that couldn't break man coverage. The Bills aren't. I mean, the Bills are in a similar situation, right? I mean, Robert Foster and Isaiah McKenzie, they can beat man coverage. But, you know, he had Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb can, for the most part, beat man coverage. It's just, you can't defend a perfect throw. And this just, I think you put this in the bank and you say, these are the types of plays that make this kid special. These are the types of plays you traded up to number 7 overall pick to get.
No doubt. And I had, mentioned Jamal Adams in the last play where Allen and Foster didn't connect. On this play, Allen again finds Adams, and Adams does insert as that 5th rusher and in that spiral. So Allen knows, and it's a really good pocket here. There's no way he's going to break contain here. You have Adams on this side, and then you have Leonard Williams right here. So this has to be a throw. And they really made him, stay in the pocket in the second half and become a passer. And he did a decent job. And it's, this was honestly his, like you said, maybe one of his top throws of the day. And just a good recognition of, Adams is down there, Williams is on the edge there to the bottom of the screen. I have to make this throw, and it has to be a good one. And you know what? He does a good job of throwing that receiver open. And of course, Foster does a little something after the catch too.
As he earned. I mean, that the yardage that he's able to come up with after the catch here are impressive. Obviously, though, the defender is so conflicted on this play, he just falls down. He's lucky. Honestly, they're lucky that this didn't break it, just based on all of his momentum moving forward, having to turn around and then turn it back around the other side. Robert Foster, I think if he just puts on the burners instead of stopping a little here, I don't know. It could be close.
Never know, yeah. And especially with his speed, I think he was just worried about that hit because that safety did have a good angle on it. But, I mean, yeah, he turned Robinson around. Well, the throw turned Robinson around, and the hand-eye coordination to bring that in. And then, of course, again, get some yardage after the play, help his quarterback on this drive. So just a good play. And a good series of plays, honestly, Nate. It was a fun breakdown because, Allen, I don't think the inaccuracies were a big deal in this game. I think for me, more for me, were some of the plays he just didn't take. He had some moments where there were some guys open deep, especially Zay Jones on a couple smash concepts. He had Zay Jones deep. He just didn't pull the trigger. Just because, some of the coverage underneath, kind of like this play where the corner was kind of splitting the difference pretty good. There were a lot of those plays where he just didn't pull the trigger and he was safe with the ball. But overall, I mean, the inaccuracies, a couple of them were there. That's to be expected. To me, I want to see him improve his pre to post stat processing. And I saw a lot of that in this game, a game where a lot of people were down on him. But again, we're talking about a game in the Dolphins the prior week where he was lights out. Again, right. 88% of the offense. This game, I think he was in the 70s, so he was still obviously the major portion of the offense. But I thought Allen did a good job this game overall. Most of his yardage on the ground, as you see here on the scramble, was in the first half, but he adjusted in the second half, and he had to use his arm. They just came up a little bit short.
Yeah, and I'd be interested in, quickly before we wrap it up here, your thoughts, because I remember a specific point, and I don't remember the game early in the season where I think it was just me on Twitter saying, I need them to want to throw more. I need them to want to feel like that they're comfortable throwing more. And I think something along the lines of your response was, I just don't know what you want them to do. He's just not ready for that. And I wonder where you are comparatively from like week 3. Or you know what? I think it was the Green Bay game.
Yeah.
Where you look at that Green Bay game and you look at this game, and people were negative about Allen's performance in this game. But if he put together this performance against Green Bay, you might be talking about a different game.
No doubt about it.
Just based on the fact that they really struggled to move the ball against the Bills defense. And to be honest with you, it was close, even though the scoreboard, it just felt like it was only a couple plays the Bills offense really needed to be still in that game. And if he puts this performance together against the Green Bay Packers, we're going to be talking about a different game that day.
No doubt about it. And I think a lot of that has to do was, from the top down, Brandon Beane and the organization realizing who Josh Allen is now early in his career and that he needs weapons that can separate with speed. Green Bay did a great job of just manning up and bringing different pressures and ghost pressures and simulated pressures, making him think that there's, pressure coming and making him bail out of the pocket. Well, he had no outlets. He had no guys that could separate with speed, no guys that could threaten deep versus, tight man coverage. Now he has a few of those guys. They're young, but you're seeing that make a difference for a guy in Josh Allen who, at times is going to hold on to the ball. He holds on to the ball longer than anyone in the NFL right now. It's up over 3 seconds. So having guys that he can trust, first of all, Robert Foster, and guys like Zay Jones, but guys that can just separate. And I think that is an organizational change that happened when Allen was out. They realized, they reevaluated what he needed to be successful early on in his career, because they obviously didn't expect Allen to play early on in this season, and you could see the offense. It was completely different those first month and a half of the season, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, you just way more empty sets like we saw today, 3x1s. He's a weapon, and for the first time, and I go back to last year, you look at the other rookie quarterbacks, and Trubisky is the guy that I think is maybe the best to compare the situation to. Sure. But at no point was the offense last year for Chicago. And of course, Matt Nagy's not there. It's John Fox. And we know we know that whole situation. Sure. But at no point did they feel comfortable enough to build the offense around the rookie quarterback. It was, don't lose us the game. Let our defense, who's pretty damn good, keep us in football games. And we'll, a lot like the Bills approach, right? Like, just have the offense do enough to not lose you football games. Let your defense keep you in it. That mindset has changed the last 3 weeks. I really think it has. I think Sean McDermott's mindset has changed a little bit. I think he thinks his offense can keep him in football games instead of just not trying to lose it for him,
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he said it today, and it was kind of the theme of this breakdown is, the offense has an identity now. They have a young rookie quarterback that has some weaknesses, some glaring weaknesses right now, but they're doing things to maximize his strengths, which is coaching 101. You want to put your guys in the best position to succeed. Well, you're seeing a lot of these 3x1 sets. You're seeing a lot of these empty sets. And they're stretching the field vertically. And, if no one's open, like Allen said today, if the first, second, or third read's not open, guess what? He can take off because he's going to have lanes with those, the spread concepts that Dable has put in there for his young quarterback. So overall, I think we're headed in a positive direction with Josh Allen. Although this may have not been his best game, he still had some good things on tape. And things that he can learn from too. So with that said, we'll wrap it up. Nate, where can everyone find you on Twitter and social media?
At Nate Geary WGR. I won't be here for post-game and my pregame and all the other duties that I do on game day. I'm traveling for work. But you can find me on the last 2 weeks. I'll be back at GR for all my game day duties. And obviously, we'll continue our breakdowns of Josh Allen as the season progresses here towards its end. And we'll see if this team can, over the last 3 games offensively, continue to build off the strong performances we've seen over the past 3 weeks with young players. And more importantly, a young quarterback who's finding his way in this league.
No doubt about it. I'm your host, Eric Turner. This is Nate Geary. Thanks for coming into this film room session of Josh Allen versus the Jets.